Have you ever heard of Jordan Peterson's self-authoring program? Over a decade of research and clinical trials have led to the creation of it, resulting in thousands of lives set on a better path. It's a powerful tool that changed my life, and I know it can do the same for you. In this video, I'll teach you exactly how it works, how it's helped me, and why it's one of the cheapest investments you can make in yourself to shape the future you want to live in. The program encourages people to reflect on their past, understand their present, and plan for their future. It helps you gain self-awareness, self-understanding, and achieve personal growth and fulfillment. It encourages you to take responsibility for your life and make conscious decisions about the direction you want to take your life in. I'm reviewing it because it helped me so much, and I know a lot of other people are interested in it but want to see what it's actually like before they pay for it. I've actually also got a free code, so what I'll do is anyone that comments, I'll put you into a randomizer, and after the video has been up for a few weeks, I'll pick a winner, and whoever wins, wins. So the program is split into three parts: the past, the present, and the future. The past section. The past section encourages you to reflect on your childhood and early life experiences in order to get a better understanding of the events and experiences that have shaped them and how they've influenced your current beliefs and behaviours. The past section gets you to split your life up into 7 different epochs, which is just a fancy name for periods of your life. You then further split these epochs or time periods down into another 5 subparts and then go through each one, analysing how these experiences have shaped your life. My personal experience working through the past section. For me, working through this section honestly brought up quite a bit of shit, so you've got to prepare yourself for that. You're going to be diving deep into some really intense moments in your life, and you might, as I did, bring up some things you don't particularly want to remember or think about. Jordan Peterson actually warns against doing this section when you're in a bad mood or you're feeling depressed, especially if you've had any trauma in your life, because it actually can get a bit dark depending on the life that you've led. So I've had a pretty messed up past. I've suffered from anxiety since the age of around 17. I've been addicted to everything you can possibly imagine: alcohol, drugs, internet porn, junk food, girls, and I've been a bad procrastinator in the past, and I still struggle with it from time to time. So writing through this section, I was actually able to identify why I did this and pinpoint the moment that I started feeling anxious and what triggered it. So I was with this girl at the time when I originally started feeling anxious. I'm looking back and writing about it when I was going through the program. It's because this girl I was with was progressing in life. She was doing well in school, getting herself into uni, and I was doing nothing. And subconsciously, I obviously realised that I was a mess, and that's what triggered the anxiety. I've only just figured this out not long ago, like a couple of days ago. So it was when this anxiety began that I started using alcohol and other substances as a coping mechanism, which only made the problem worse and took me about 7 years to figure out. You see, if I had done this 7 years ago, I could have figured it out straight away and started sorting my life out earlier. Obviously, I've got plenty of time left, and luckily I figured it out on my own anyway. It just took a lot longer than it would have done if I'd just done this. But I'd still advise doing it no matter what age you are. But let's say that you're in your teens or your early 20s. Imagine being able to figure out all your issues so early and not make the same mistakes that I did. It's an absolute game changer. Also, you get yourself like a biography of your life, and it's just cool to look at. Because obviously it isn't all just shit. You've got beautiful moments that you get to look back on as well. It's sort of like going in a time machine. It's really cool. The present section. This part is split into 2 sections, and in each one you'll go through your 5 personality traits, which you might know as the 5-factor model or the Big 5, which are openness, which refers to a person's level of imagination, creativity, and willingness to try new things; conscientiousness, which refers to a person's level of organisation, responsibility, and dependability. The third one is extroversion. This refers to a person's level of outgoingness. Is that even a word? That makes no sense, but you get what I mean. Assertiveness and sociability. Number 4 is agreeableness. This refers to a person's level of compassion, cooperativeness, and likability. And the last one is neuroticism. Bing bong, bing bong, bing bong, bing bong. That one. This refers to a person's level of emotional stability, anxiety, and tendency to experience negative emotions. My favourite one of them all. So you'll go through these twice, once for your personality faults and once for your personality virtues. And then you'll dive deeper into each of those, and you'll do a virtue analysis and a fault analysis, where you'll write about an experience you've had due to that positive or negative trait, a possible alternative outcome to that experience, and then you'll write some guidelines for general improvement of that trait. Honestly, the analysis section of this got a little bit confusing to me, particularly with the analysis of the virtues. I'll give an example of one I'm happy to share with you, which is a virtue, which is that I'm a very loyal friend. So in one of my experiences, I wrote this. I have stopped certain friends of mine from getting in trouble in the past. For example, one of my friends was once arrested because he was so drunk and was found on the streets. I was calling him at the time to find out where he was, and the police answered his phone. I was able to speak to the police and get them to release him so that he didn't have to go to a cell and came and stayed at my house. Then when I moved on to a possible alternative outcome, this is where I got a bit confused. I was able to do it with the fault analysis, because you just think of a way you would have not let that fault affect that experience. But the virtues I got a bit confused by, and I wrote this. I don't think in that situation I could have done anything better. I stopped my friend from spending the night in a cell. I guess I could have stopped him from being wasted in the first place, but he's his own man, and it's not up to me to do that. So I sort of reframed that virtue into a negative, in that it takes a lot of energy for me to be a loyal friend, and to keep checking on people. And the thing is, that doesn't even really take that much energy out of me anyway, but I felt like I had to write something. So then I was turning the virtue into a negative, which sort of defeats the point of the section. Maybe I'm not understanding it properly and someone in the comments can explain it to me. And then again, I was confused for the guidelines for self-improvement, because how can you improve on a virtue? It's already a positive. Start thinking about the butterfly effect, like I could have used it better maybe? I'm guessing that's probably it, but I wrote this. All of my friends trust and like me. This is great because having good friends in your life is extremely important, and they are good friends back to me. I'm not a loyal friend so that they are in return. I don't expect anything back, but it does happen that if you are loyal, you will be treated with loyalty in return, which is great. If I have a problem, there are loads of people I can turn to, and I do quite often. All of my friends are very patient with me in this regard. I imagine it is because they know I would and have done the same for them many times. So as you can see again, I was getting a little bit confused, but I assume you get the general idea anyway. So you do that for all of the virtues that you pick from a list and all of the faults that you pick from a list. My personal experience working through the present section, it helped me to evaluate my current goals, values and beliefs, and more importantly evaluate the alignment between them. So I was able to get a better understanding of myself and my motivations, prioritize my decision making and make more conscious decisions about the direction of my life. It does also encourage you to consider your role in society and the responsibilities you have to yourself, your family and your community. But I didn't really get that part. Maybe I'm just not good enough at introspection to be able to delve that deep yet, I'm not sure. The future section. This helps you to create a detailed and specific plan for your future. It includes prompts that encourage you to think about your goals, values and priorities, and to create a timeline for achieving them. It also includes exercises to identify potential challenges and obstacles, and to develop strategies for overcoming them. The main goal of the future section is to help you develop a clear sense of direction and purpose, and to take concrete steps towards achieving your goals. My personal experience working through the future section. So to start this section, you do a little bit of brainstorming where you sort of write at random, and it's called the Ideal Future Preliminary Notes and Thoughts, and it takes you through 10 different prompts. One thing you could do better in life, things for you to learn about, how you could improve your habits, what your social life in the future looks like, what your leisure activity in the future looks like, your family life in the future, your career in the future, qualities that you admire in people, your ideal future and the future that you want to avoid. And remember that, because that one was very important to me. So for an example, the best part of this section for me was the future I want to avoid, because I'm fully aware that I could slip back into old habits and addictions like I mentioned before. So I detailed what that future would look like for me in excruciating detail, and it basically ends up in my eventual homelessness and then death, because if I drank and did all that other stuff again for another decade, I would die. It's just a fact. There's no doubt about it. So now I've got this terrifying future written down on paper that I obviously do not want, and I can look back on whenever I get an urge or feel like I'm slipping, and it should scare me straight again. So that's good. You get all your thoughts down on paper, and then you move on to the next section, which is about your goals. You start by writing down your main goal. Mine is to be in the best physical and mental shape I've ever been in my life, and I want to own a business that I have full autonomy over. Most likely YouTube, but it could be anything, but that is my current goal, and I want it to be making me enough money that I've reached what they call escape velocity. And this basically means that I don't have to listen to anyone ever, aside from obviously the law and, you know, standard things, but I mean like bosses yapping down your ear and all of that shit. I need to get away from that. I cannot have it in my life. And for me, the number I want the business to make so I can achieve this escape velocity, I've put it at 10 grand per month. But realistically, even 5 would be fine, but I don't like to set small goals. You're gonna set a goal, set a big one. Why not? And that is my absolute main goal, is to make the money. But obviously, if I'm not in shape, then all that's for nothing. nothing. Because what's the point of having a load of money if you're so out of shape that you're ill, you feel like shit every day, that you can't even enjoy the money that you make? There's just no point. After you've done that section, you write down 8 sub-goals. And these are the goals that are going to help you get to your main goal. And you analyse each one just like the virtues and faults section. But instead, the prompts are these. So you evaluate your motives for the goal. You consider the broad personal and social impact of the goal. You consider the detailed strategy for attaining that goal. You identify potential obstacles and their solutions. And you figure out a way how you'll monitor your progress towards that goal. And that's the future section completed. This was by far the best section for me, as although during the past section I was able to identify what basically turned me into a fuck-up for 7 years, I'd already gotten over it and had stopped using alcohol and other substances to mask the problem anyway. It didn't really tell me anything new. I just figured out the exact moment that it happened and why, which is interesting, but not that helpful. It would have been far more useful to me if I'd done it 7 years ago, which is why if you're young, you've got like an additional benefit of doing this. So since this section is about where I'm going to be in the next like 7 years, even though it's actually 5, but we'll just call it 7 so it matches up with the past. This sort of basically is like the past section in reverse. Like you go in the past and now you're going into the future, and then in the future you'll be able to write about this past. It's a mad time travel movie. So when I come back and redo this section in 5 years time, although I'm sure I'll still have made plenty of mistakes, they'll now be minimized because of how self-aware I am. How aware of what I'm doing I am. A specific plan of action, a detailed, specific plan of action that if I follow will get me to that destination, which I did not have before. I had goals and stuff, but this is a concrete, proper plan. I'm also now aware of the obstacles that I might face before they arise. So I'll notice them if they come up and I'll just go, nope, we know where that'll lead. It'll lead to my worst future that we've already spoke about, my homelessness and death. So we don't want that, do we? So you just end up with this really detailed, intense future roadmap. And yeah, life will get in the way, but if I can do the 80-20 rule with it, where I make sure I at least follow 20% of it perfectly, then I should get 80% of the results. And that is a future I am looking forward to. So it's a very, very useful section. And you can come back and look on it each month and check that you're on track and adjust for certain things. It really is a brilliant tool. If you do any section, I would highly advise you do this one above them all. So to conclude, if you're like me and you're naturally inclined to be a mess, so you have to take extra care to not be a mess, then this is for you. I need a plan in my life. If I don't know where I'm doing what, when and how, I just go off the rails. Obviously this is suited to many other personality traits other than mine, and it can help anyone. So I hope I've given you some good advice if you were considering purchasing it or not. Like and comment to be put into the randomizer so you can have a chance of winning a free code for the program. Subscribe and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.